Hi everyone, welcome to another Luby's Lessons. Today I want to talk about targets. I think it's very important in life to make targets and work towards them. And when it comes to fencing, the target you can have during quarantine is, of course, target practice. And so today I want to show you the beautiful target that we have in this household that my friend and housemate Katie made. And I want to show you what I like to do on it based on Coach Simeon's footwork. And then I wanted to show you just when you are bored of having a dummy as your target, you can have a real person be your target. And so I'll show you what Katie and I did and messed around with. So here we go. So this is our target. He does not have a name, but he consists of two pillows, I think 2.5 pillows, and an old jacket. And so he's really nice to hit because you don't have to stoop down. In another video, I think I was using a pillow, just a living room pillow, and I had to stoop down a little bit, so I don't really recommend that. But this is good because it can be about the same level as your potential opponent. And so what I start out with here is I like to just be in an extension distance and hit with a half step backwards. So first it was just a half step back hit. Now I'm doing little steps in place and then a hit. And it's a really good way to build up off of this. So after this, I make the distance a little bit bigger, and I do the same thing with half step, but because the distance is bigger, now I do half step hit, half step, step forward, half step back, step forward. So again, I start out with just doing that main action, and when I start to get a feel for it, I add in the steps in place to really try to find my balance and find that moment to hit. And the other nice thing I like to do is the Vitsali shuffle, because I know when I first started fencing, Vitsali was my favorite fencer. I like her footwork. It's very sneaky. So for this, it's really nice to add her shuffle and then use one of those back steps to actually start your hit. And of course, from that, it is most logical to add a lunge. So we're doing a half step back and lunge forward. I really recommend making a video of yourself doing this, because now that I'm watching, I noticed that my en garde is really high up in the air, and if I were to redo this, I think I'd sit down much lower to make my lunge more explosive. But again, these are things that are much harder to notice when you're doing it, or I guess if you don't have a mirror, like here, we don't have a mirror in our living room. So it's always nice to make a recording to get your own feedback, and also, of course, to share with Coach Simeon. Now, here's the really fun part. I asked my friend Katie, who is an epeeist, to do this drill, which is meant really for foil. It's a drill I like to use for as a warm-up to any competition, especially with team events, to do with a teammate. And it consists of, so the fencer on the left, that's me, just hitting over and over again with disengages, and then the partner on the right, that's Katie, just doing different parries that make me disengage. And so she's playing mostly with 4 and 6, and she's also moving her body around, and I asked her to also get closer so I can work on some overhead touches, which are fun. And a good way to end this after doing a bunch of disengages is the person on the right would step back and make me lunge. So I think I would say that if you have a jacket that you could have someone in your house put on with a mask, Actually, I probably shouldn't say that in case there's accidents. But this is just a fun thing I guess you can watch, and maybe if you have another fencer nearby, you could do. But I'm not saying you should do it because I don't want you to get, or your non-fencing friend to get hurt. But I guess I'm lucky enough to be in quarantine with a fencing friend, so we get to do this. And now that I'm the one here doing the disengages, I really like to play around with different angles and moving to my non-dominant hand. So again, probably shouldn't recommend it because maybe it's dangerous for your non-fencing hand, but this is just a fun thing I like to do, and I think I got a bit too into it. Looks like I'm kind of swimming with the different strokes.
Now I'm just Now you're just swimming.
Last thing I will say though, if you don't have a fencing buddy, you can imagine someone is doing these constant parries. So when you do work with your target practice, you can just disengage on your own.
Yeah, that's like, doesn't make sense.
Alright, so I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope that in your own household you have something that you can stab, because as fencers I think we miss stabbing things, and even if you're having trouble sticking to some sort of routine, every once in a while it's nice to pick up your weapon and do some target practice. So everyone have a great week, and I will see you next week. Ciao ciao!